None dare call it censorship, because you won't be allowed to. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, last week, I'll admit I did not read the entire 800-page report because, contrary to rumors, I do have a life. But Congressman Jim Jordan's Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government released this report that parts of it reads like stuff out of Atlas Shrugged, which is only slightly longer than the report. I want to run some of these items by you. In March 2021, an Amazon employee emailed others within the company about the reason for Amazon bookstores' new content moderation policy change. The impetus, according to the email, for this request is criticism from the Biden administration about sensitive books we're giving prominent placement to. And apparently these books included stuff that was deemed sensitive because it had to do with the possible lab origins of COVID and that kind of thing. Also in March of
crazy.
I know, right? And also in March of 2021, just one day prior to a scheduled call with the White House, another Amazon employee explained how changes to Amazon's bookstore policies were being applied, a quote, due to criticism from the Biden people who were directly in touch with people at Amazon about what they should and shouldn't allow on their website for people to say about books that Amazon was selling. In July 2021, when Facebook executive Nick Clegg asked a Facebook employee why the company censored the man-made theory of the SARS virus, the employee responded, another quote, because we were under pressure from the Biden administration and others to do more. We shouldn't have done it. And just going one step further here, it isn't all Facebook and Amazon. YouTube shared with the Biden White House a new policy proposal to censor more content criticizing the safety and efficacy of vaccines, asking for any feedback from the White House that they could provide before the policy had been finalized. Now, someone at the Biden White House got right back to YouTube and said, at first blush, it seems like a great step. Bill, going to be more steps to come on this slippery slope, don't you think?
Well, I guess we're going to find out in 5 months or something like
that.
Yeah. However, it's a truism. I really don't think there's much debate about this. I don't even think the left would argue too much about this, that the censorship efforts that we're seeing are coming from one side. It's a truism to say that the left wants the right to shut up and the right wants the left to keep talking. But I think the most important thing that you can say about any kind of a censorship argument, Steve, is that if you are the side doing the censoring, you have the weaker argument.
Absolutely.
You've got the poorer case. You've got the inferior product. You've got the lamer philosophy. When you've got a winning idea or a winning set of ideas or philosophies, you not only do not want to shut the other person up, it's like you say, you want them to keep talking because you've got a better product and you want them to lay out their product so that you can just basically trash them and show them how you're better in every way. When you are in a position where you know you've got inferior products, you do things like censorship. And if you want to think about philosophy and politics as commodities, what you're basically trying to do is you're trying to lock out the competition. You're going to have a license if you're going to be a hairdresser, that kind of thing. And it's because of the insecurity that comes directly from the poor quality of the product that they're selling. I mean, I just think that this needs to be said again and again and again. If you are on the side of censoring somebody, it's because you know, not only your opponent knows, but you know that your product is subpar and that competition has to be stomped out. Because censorship essentially, Steve, is nothing more than the elimination of competition and the creation of a monopoly for whatever product you happen to be selling. And people who make great products don't have to go with that. So yeah, go ahead and weaponize the government all you want to, put all the pressure you want on these people. I think the final thing that needs to be said too is courage isn't as common as it used to be, and moral courage even less so. I don't want this to be another, I guess it's inevitable, another episode of the Elon Musk fan club, opening pledge.
Guilty.
But I am heartened by the example that he gave when he was challenged about these new policies he put in place on X. Was it going to cause a loss of advertisers? And he basically said, F them. This is the right thing to do. I think it's the right thing to do, and damn the consequences, and off we go. So when you really get down to the brass tacks on this, we have created a government that is legally prohibited from censoring us. And so what's happening is when I say we, I'm talking about people in YouTube and these other tech giants. I'm not sure we're the same species, but in any event, they have American passports. They are willingly acquiescing to censorship pressure when there is, in fact, no actual coercion in place. In other words, the government cannot legally force them to censor the stuff. They're just lining up and doing it voluntarily. And to me, that's even more disturbing, to be honest with you.
Although I'll get to that in a moment, but before I do, I'd just like to say it was fascinating to watch the exact same people on the left who for years had lionized Elon Musk as a hero for creating Tesla, the first really great EV company. Immediately, he became a villain in these same people's eyes when he brought free speech back to Twitter. That's all you need to know.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, not all the kowtowing has been willing, Bill. One Facebook executive's email revealed that the company was brainstorming additional policy levers we can pull to be more aggressive against misinformation. Wow, that's more than willing kowtowing. And this is stemming, he wrote, from the continued criticism of our support from the Biden administration. So yeah, Bill, what you said is absolutely correct. So many of these big tech companies are like, hey, what can we do to shut up people to help the Biden administration? It's exactly what they're doing.
And the idea, and this is the most disturbing thing, the idea that they might be wrong never, ever, ever enters their head. It is never part of the calculation. It's not even on the horizon. The idea that they might be mistaken is never in their equation, and this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. They have no way of knowing that they might be wrong because they never hear any cogent arguments against themselves because they've censored it out.
Now, I want to give you the flip side of this. Scott, I'm going to direct this at you because I couldn't believe this part of the story. Facebook's internal communications also revealed, quote, that the Surgeon General wants us to remove true information about COVID vaccine side effects. And, of course, Facebook eventually did comply with the Biden White House leaning on him about this. But Mark Zuckerberg tried to resist at first. He emailed that when we compromise our standards, which apparently they have, due to an administration in either direction, we'll often regret it. But, of course, the White House applied more pressure and Zuckerberg caved and Facebook was squashing dissent left and right. Well, right
virtual
and right.
Gary Cooper, that guy.
Yeah. So, Scott, when big government and big business get into bed together, we used to call that fascism, didn't we?
I was trying to think of the right phrase to describe this because it made me think of something that happened to me, and I'll get back to that in a second.
Okay.
But at first, I was going to say that we are treating this as if it were some sort of a regal presidency. In other words, there are monarchical powers, and you don't just have to comply with the common law, you also have to be seen as complying with the will of the monarch. And then I realized it's not that regal. It's probably more like La Cosa Nostra. It's kind of like nice bookstore you got there. Be a shame if anything were to happen to it. And I don't mean that they're threatening literal force, but I think the business people understand that the government has an inexhaustible ability to wear you down. And it's kind of like the government-instituted form of what's called lawfare elsewhere. It's like, I don't have to have a winning case here. I don't have to have any legal authority to do what I plan to do. I just have to pursue you, and it's going to cost you. And so I can continually go after you, but know that I'll never catch you, and yet you'll surrender because it's not worth the fight. It's not worth persisting against the obstacle that the immovable object that government presents. And what I was reminded of is when I worked as a relatively low-level employee in a school district administration, I got an email from one of the members of the school board directing me to do something. And I wrote back a polite letter to the member of the school board explaining that an individual member of the board had no authority to direct me to do anything, because the only authority he had was as a legislator among legislators. The board would have to vote, and then it would be, actually administered through the executive branch, in this case, the superintendent. And he did not take that very well. And I thought that's kind of like what we have going on here. The president really doesn't have any constitutional authority outside of a declaration of war and implementation of restrictions due to that to restrict what books get sold on Amazon or what things get posted on Facebook or what videos show up on YouTube. But the president's team can lean on somebody with the implication that this is going to be more trouble than it's worth for you. So wouldn't it be nice if you did the good American thing and just went along with what we want you to do? And that's perhaps even more pernicious than a dictatorship that simply can order and punish. This is more covert, this is more subtle, and this is, I think, more devastating, especially to a republic.
Yeah, just the idea of Facebook, Amazon, and all the rest, just exchanging this information with any White House, as Zuckerberg commented, behind the scenes to determine what is legitimate public debate is that's one of the most chilling things I've ever read, and I just want to give kudos to Representative Jordan, the Republican from Ohio, for the work his subcommittee is doing, even though I did not read all 800 pages, and I probably never will. But before I let you go, folks, I do want to say this much. You got to get out from underneath this White House-approved information flow, and one of the ways you can do that is shows like this one, which don't have a huge viewership, but we're working on it, and it's all made possible. The information you get, the entertainment you get from Right Angle, it's all made possible from the members at BillWhittle.com. If you aren't a member, I'd love it if you'd come over today, BillWhittle.com, and become one of our members, because this whole idea of White House-approved information, you got to get out from under that. All right. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.